Hi, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, or whenever you hear this show, or we'll have this show on video. And this is the Dave and Tom show. Dave Emmons, Tom Althouse. We're both writers, and we're both involved in a lot of different research. And we're going to be talking about some of that research, plus the current events. This is a current events show. We also do UFO shows and ET shows, and we might mention ETs during this broadcast. We just hope that you take an interest and be enlightened in what we're talking about. That's what we're here for, is to enlighten the people of what's going on presently with current events and what's going on behind the scenes, behind the curtain, as we say. We don't have any guests in particular, just the two of us, Tom and I, and we are also syndicated through a radio station, WDY Eddie Carson's, and that is OdysseyRadio.live. And Eddie, I got it right this time. Yeah. So, yeah, but no, we're syndicated through them in audio, radio only, and with this video, we'll have this posted on several. We got YouTube, Rumble. Uh, I guess we're going down to LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course Facebook, of course, and a lot of pages there that we'll be on. So, Tom, opening, what do you got to say about today? And I know that things for you and I have been really hectic lately.
Yeah.
A lot of decision making and a lot of talking and negotiating. We're not going to say what about, but it's all there. But I know that this has put a little stress on both of us. So, any opening statements, buddy?
Yeah, just it's very heavy times. And you look at the news and you can see how basically the news is one of those whistler organs or, entertainment machines. It's just like, it's just putting out stuff and playing it like an organ. And I saw a lot of the news stories I've looked at. I'm just like, oh my God. And then you see some well-placed incidents that are even in our backyard here in Texas, right in our back town. And I think there's a lot of nefarious things going on right now in our world to try to get people emotionally reacting to head onto the agenda that the New World Elite have.
Okay, let's start off a little bit. I'm going to start off, I guess, not slow, but it's all the news is important to what's going on today because it's all melting together in a dangerous type of way in which we are all watching. A lot of people are really afraid. UPI report. I get most of my news from UPI, U.S. News, that type of thing, military.com. In Iran, there's a protest, and it was October 15th, and it's over the treatment of women, and it's escalating. And maybe that's a good thing for us to maybe get involved in stopping them with a nuclear weapon. And there's a video, several videos out with police and military people grappling women in the crowds. That's they're, I guess, handling them in a sexual way, and they're actually trying to drive off with them. And so this is the government has given them permission, a blank check to do whatever they want, I guess. And so it was posted by the BBC, and the Brits are getting in trouble more and more with Iran with posting all this stuff and talking about it. They're helping those people on the street in the protest. And us, I don't think the Biden administration is doing much to help those protesters, to help increase their protesting against the establishment, in which the establishment is pretty rough on these people. And this happened in the capital, Tehran. So it's forcing women onto motorcycles and cars, taking them away. And the leaders are giving the orders for this type of behavior to scare the protesters. Mm-hmm. So the protesters will not do anything. They'll stop protesting. They wanted to stop, and the U.S. We're kind of like in the same boat, except the criminals are let go, and we have the lawlessness in this country. So the criminals are in charge. I heard a candidate last night say, let's start a new slogan. He says, let's make the criminals illegal. That's something like that. So because of the lawlessness, and this lawlessness is actually happening worldwide, Tom. And I guess there's a reason for it.
Oh, absolutely.
What's your
well, that's part of the organ playing. What you do is you get disruptions, you rattle cages, you get emotions high, and the media helps feed it by doing isolated events too. Not that this is an isolated event, The one outside the British Manchester embassy, whatever, where the Chinese person was dragged in, then pulled out.
Right.
Yeah, that was one person, and that became this huge thing. And it's like kids get bullied in school all the time. So he wasn't seriously injured, and it's like becomes this whole catalyst for emotional, let's have a war almost. So it's incredible that that's how, as adults, we're being fed this kind of information when kids are being bullied in school and get hit and stuff like that and gang bullied, and it's settled with the principal sitting them down and counselors. It's like I'm tired of the world being played to go to war and having these things specifically cited and isolated and edited to encourage that. And I think really there's other news that could be so much stronger and helpful. And I think what we should be doing is figuring out how we can encourage further the rights of women while taking care of our own business in this country and making sure that people have rights and not harassed and harmed by FBI, CIA, and other agencies, that we get our house in order, and then we help others get their house in order and lead by example. So like you said, it's worldwide.
Right.
So I'm
and
citizens' rights,
and
people's rights,
right.
humanitarian rights.
In U.S. news, they said the crime is up 37% in Pittsburgh, 3 dead and 1 injured in multiple scenes and shootings. And there's 5 dead in North Carolina, 15-year-old killer. Can you imagine? These kids are getting involved in this. And the 12 cops were shot in the last 6 days or 5 days. And they said it, and this mostly by ambushes. Most of those cops died from their wounds. And the police fraternal order, they're very upset. They're appealing to Biden and the government. But where is that going to go? Nowhere,
Right.
probably. They're telling them we've had enough. We've had enough of this ambush, cop killing and cop hating, and the news media putting down the cops, talking about the cops being bad people, and then also turning around and then the Democrats defunding the police, making them even look worse. So that sounds like to me that's not stupidity. That's a plan. And they're talking about the January 6th committee, and we won't go into that further, but Trump was subpoenaed on that. But they're putting more weight on that and abortion than they are on inflation, gasoline prices, border problems down in Mexico, and also, this thing about the crime that's going crazy, and nobody's doing anything about it because we have the Democrats that are holding back these DAs and everything else. They're all together, hand in hand. I have to give them credit; they're lockstep, unlike the other party. Both parties, we talked about this earlier, Tom, that both parties are both corrupt in a way. We have both bad on each side, Republican and Democrat. Somebody was talking about we need to create a good, solid third party.
Yes, we do.
And
absolutely.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that, buddy?
Well, as we need other parties that we can go to, and the way it's done right now, the way our system's set up, it's really is rigged, very much so, that the powers to be will maintain the power they have. And so Republican, Democrat, I don't want either. I don't want either right now. I'm sick of both. And I would rather have something where people could vote from their home, on their computers, whatever, vote from their home. And if people can't do it, then we have a special way they can get in and do it. But we could have a popular vote determine a president. I think we should head that way. Now, people really get angry about that often, but why not have a popular vote void of parties? Let's just have people get up there and show their credentials who want to lead. Go back to the way it was in the very beginning of this country. And let's pick people who actually have credentials, not based on their money in order to get ads and promotions and special interests behind them, but actually people that say, here's me, I'm a dad, whatever, here's what I want to contribute, here's what I like to see, and I'd like to work with other like-minded people, like any kind of fraternity. So I'd like to see something happen where we have it more accessible to the people, to have candidates they can choose from that are real, not have to be rich or from the Republican or Democratic Party. I would like to get rid of them both.
Right. And that story was from U.S. News. Let me talk lighten it up a little bit at this time. These are kind of like political jokes, and I saw them as political, actually. And here, this is kind of like a child's joke, but said, "Why should you never play poker at a zoo?" And they said, "Too many cheetahs."
Okay.
So,
All
and
right.
then President Lincoln was approached by a woman after a political speech. "If you were my husband," this woman said, "I would poison your tea." Lincoln replied, and this sounds like Lincoln actually.
Yeah.
This is what he would probably say, and this is what's going on today. They hate the president so much they would, they want to poison him. So Lincoln replied to this woman, said, "If you were my wife, I would gladly drink the poison." So that kind of sums it up for today. But let's move on to this story. Is October 15th, this man suspected of having carried out what officials called a series of homicides. I think you mentioned this earlier,
Right.
in Stockton, California. And Wesley Brownlee, 43, was arrested in Stockton on Saturday morning while he was out hunting for people to kill. It
Right.
doesn't say who he killed. It didn't say what race. This guy that's Brownlee, they haven't said his motive. But I'm not going to talk about race here, but the motive has not been found out. But he was going around killing these people, just hunting people like animals. And they said they shared a photo of the handgun Brownlee had. It was when he was taken in custody, and somebody saw him on the streets. So good. It's a good thing for the citizens to be watching and watching out for these people. So he was taken into custody, and they're still working on it. But are we ever going to know the truth? A lot of times, like that Las Vegas shooter back about 3 4 years ago,
Mhm.
nobody ever learned the truth. After the FBI gets the case, it's over.
That's right.
W-
They're trying
Yeah,
to stir mass hysteria and mass suffering, and it's just that's what they do. And so notice the media plays right in hand. Now, I would venture there's a correlation between all these shootings and school shootings and things like this in the media, the way they cover it, that encourages other shootings. People want to be remembered. They want to be important. They want to matter, as my sister Gabat said. So they want to matter. So they are going to, it's going to perpetuate this other series. Basically, the media and the FBI is formulating crime sprees. They're generating, seeding them, and flourishing them. They're watering them and nurturing them like a garden. So that's what they're doing. The media encourages young people to see that they can get all this time, all this media coverage, and get a lot of commentary and everything else, and be remembered. And that's something Hollywood is out there. We want to be remembered. So I blame the media and I blame FBI a lot for what's going on in our country right now, with all and worldwide, with all these different killings
well,
being
the
glorified.
last 4 or 5 years, people have lost so much faith in the FBI.
Oh,
They
sure.
used to be the pinnacle of law enforcement and very well trusted. And who would you call when you really got into trouble? Like cities would call in these serial killers. They call in the FBI. But now the FBI are told to spend their time doing other things, investigating MAGA people,
Yeah.
and just going out and falsely accusing and arresting people
And
for
profiting off it. They are not even a federal agency, and they're profiting off of what they're doing. They're like the Federal Reserve, not federal. And so they have learned how to make it profitable for themselves, have great influence and power. They don't want to lose their influence and power. And they have the phrase, we're going to only go after those that go after us. And so what's very interesting is like there's a whole list here in this one article about what the FBI is guilty of. It's coming out now. And you look at this. This is against US citizens who they target
right.
out of influence. And I think I read you that list earlier, and it's exactly what happened to me. And it is a long list of illegal activity. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've just been hearing a lot of reports that, I think the DOJ and the FBI they're talking about the Republicans are when they get in and they're going to tear down the FBI and put it back together, and also they're gonna go after Garland. They're gonna go after Ray, and try to get rid of those two. Let's move on to the big fear that everybody has today. They're talking about nuclear war, and this is scary. And I think I don't know if it's meant to get out there to scare us or what's going on. Uh, but the Ukrainian president, Zelensky, alleged that Russia has lost nearly 65,000 troops, and Also, the explosions in Russia's Belgorod region
Mhm.
injured multiple people Sunday. So Russia's mad about Belgorod. They're all upset about that, and the Kremlin is ignoring the reality, they said, about Zelensky in his nightly address Saturday. And this past week, Biden, all media they've been involved in this. They're talking this nuclear war Armageddon stuff, and this is all media sources are saying this, and TV you can see it all over. So they've talked about this nuclear war Armageddon, and even people they're talking about being prepared for it. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard, in which I do have some respect for her. She was a Democrat. Now she's not. She quit the Dem Party last week, and she warns the Dems that she said that they're warmongers. She was
Mhm.
part of it. And then, of course, they said that Trump was a big warmonger, but he had no wars during his time.
Mm.
And here's something else that's increasing this tension. This comes out of American military news, and it's 10 October 18th. B-52 bombers, 60 warplanes fly near Russia. Joint nuke NATO exercises.
Mm.
That's
We do the
that's
same thing.
asking.
We do the same thing. And Tulsi, first of all, I really respect Tulsi. She's a friend of mine on Facebook, and I respect her. It's one of the politicians I actually respect. And if you look at as far as the Russian things and the Ukraine things, look at the actual pictures they're showing you. I want to point this out to you, Dave. The media is going to look for the meatiest thing they can find, the meatiest morsel they can find to create fear. And all they can come up with when this one article is smoke rises from an air defense base in the aftermath of an apparent Russian strike in Mariupol, Ukraine. That's under the nuclear threat thing. The best picture they could get is some smoke rising. So, and you look at the city shots, it reminds me of Tel Aviv, where there's just like some smoke rising. So we are not seeing, I say BS on 65,000 killed. No way. There would be graphic information, and there would be lots of pictures of all kinds of hospitals, things like this. No, it's not happening. The media is constructing wag the dog from Hollywood. I'm just saying this. And they even said this actor of a president in Ukraine was saying that they aimed one of their deadliest weapons, a moldable rocket launcher called Grad. What? What? They aimed it? And we could get away with the same thing saying, okay, they are aiming their weapons at a nursery school. They're aiming. We do not know what they're aiming at, and they didn't fire the missile. So now, in one case, they say they fired a missile, intercepted it. This is all just like pea shooters compared to them saying there's massive, massive deaths, massive things, nuclear. No, I think if there's going to be a nuclear war, it's because the media constructed it like wag the dog. Watch the movie Wag the Dog. That's how they did it. I've seen some footage coming out about Ukraine that is actual garbage, where they have actors running in front with dummies blown up in the background with a tank, and it's badly choreographed. This is wag the dog, and the media is having a good laugh with the cabal. I'm telling you, there is no threat of a nuclear war. Putin's not that stupid, and I can guarantee you 65,000 soldiers did not die. I can
What about
guarantee you. Yeah.
what about the big bridge that was blown up last week coming out of Crimea? And
Maybe a
also,
bridge was hit, but it's not.
this
Think of it. It's not this massive scale thing. It's not. 65,000 people don't die on a bridge.
don't you
So
think it sounds kind of like our political system today? Like Putin is saying, Belgorod, right across the border from Ukrainian province of Kharkiv, a lot of Russians were injured there, and then he's mad. He's mad about that. But look how many Ukrainians have died that
how
he's
many did
killed.
die? Do we know? Do we know? If we're
Not
relying
actually.
on mainstream media, we don't know, Dave. We don't know. We don't know. And I
I
just
agree.
feel like it's like, worm tongue in Lord of the Rings whispering in the ear of the public. And I'd like to know the facts. Like I said, I'd love to have a delegation, maybe a Trump-led delegation, go over and meet with Putin. Talk to him. We're not hearing his view on what is going on in his response to how Ukraine was destroyed and infiltrated by the Pentagon. So I'm saying there needs to be, I will not take this country's Pentagon's voice as fact. No way. Not after all the horror and crimes against our own citizens. I
Well,
would
yeah,
say let's get both sides. I would like to see
you
a
got
debate on
to.
TV. Let's get a debate between Putin and Biden, that would be a gem. Let's have it public. I'm sure Putin would agree.
Right. Uh, the UPI also reported there were 2 gunmen killed 11 people and wounded 15 others in an attack on a military training ground in Belgorod. And that's the same region where the bombs were going off. And that's in Ukraine and Western Russia.
Okay.
The nation's defense ministry said, and they said that this was internal strife by inside Moscow.
Say the numbers again. Tell me how many were killed.
15.
How many?
11 people were wounded, another 15 in the attack military training ground near Russia, and 2 gunmen killed 11 people.
Great. Time out. Hold that thought. That's my point. I'm glad you brought it up. Around that same amount of people killed in my backyard right here the other day. That is not 65,000 people killed in Texas. If that's a story they have about 11 people killed, that's not even near 65,000, and they're going to dig up their juiciest morsels. Follow what I'm saying. That's the best they could dig up as they create Wag the Dog. I am telling you, Dave, this is being orchestrated to create a war, but they're trying to play it. They're trying to say, look, Bobby punched Bill. Bill punched Bobby. They're trying to get a fight started, yelling, fight, fight, fight. That's what the media is doing. That's what the cabal is doing. And they think they can make it happen just like the poof, magically, like Wag the Dog. So I'm saying that there is not 65,000 people dead, but there's 11 dead. I would give you that.
Yeah, Putin called this a terrorist attack, and it was recruits that was participating in a training session, and these were Russian, trainees and volunteers preparing for special operations, and they were attacked by small arms fire by terrorists.
That's my point, Dave. That's my point. 11 people killed. Putin reacts to that. Would Putin be reacting to that if 65,000 were killed? Or you ignore that? 11 killed. There's your issue. There's the facts. 65,000, no way. No way in hell. No.
Right.
And I think that whole thing about Russians afraid of leaving the country, there's Americans want to leave the country. I'm one of them. I want to leave this country as fast as I can and allow them to let me go and my son to be safe from the hell in this country, from the FBI and CIA. I want to leave this country. So they won't let me. So let the Russians broadcast that. People want to leave the terror in the USA and we're trying to get out. Let them broadcast that.
Right. Well, here's something else about Ukraine here. Oksana Markovia, Ukraine's ambassador to the U.S., addressed President Emmanuel Macron's recent suggestion that France would not act if the Russia were to carry out nuclear attack on her country of Ukraine. So, and she said that there needs to be a global response to nuclear threats, should be very harsh due to their gravity. We cannot rule out anything, Markovia said during an appearance on Face the Nation on Sunday, while speaking about the possibility Russian Vladimir Putin will use nuclear weapons amid the ongoing war in Ukraine. And you're saying that he won't. If this is just all, it's just all pipe.
Take it to a microcosm. Take it to my situation. I've got a sister bought by the FBI, well rewarded with the things she's bragging about. She's going to get on the floor of Congress, awards, positions, trips, you name it, to even the Caribbean, on an unlicensed elementary school counselor salary. Now, think of this. She's saying I'm waving a gun around. I'm going to shoot her, shoot my son, and having FBI agents haul me off. Now, take it to a larger scale. They're saying Putin's going to use nuclear war. No, they're saying that it's a threat. He's making a nuclear threat. He is not. They're creating the threat by saying, oh, his scientists were on a train. Why wouldn't they? They're going to tea or coffee in another province. And then they're saying, oh, they aimed their one weapon at us. Please stop. They're saying that I wave a gun around. I don't even have a gun. So why are they saying I'm waving a gun around, going to shoot people? Because the FBI told them to. The same things happened to Putin, where they're trying to make his whole country suspect. I'm serious. This country's got to stop. The USA has got to stop making other countries the bad guys. We got to be turn our eyes on this country and clean this country up, to fund the FBI. Like Trump said, get rid of this FBI and don't reconstruct it. Just get rid of it. Get rid of it, defund it, and stop having it create terror across the world. We're playing their song. Like I said in the beginning, they're playing the organ. There is no 65,000 dying. There is no big nuclear threat. Putin's not going to do it. But listen to the lingo that you read in that French article. It's very important. What you read is important.
They're trying to draw us in. They're trying to draw us into this act.
Serious repercussions for the threat of nuclear war. And what does the FBI say? We only go after those who go after us. The French person in that report you just read is so good you brought that up. is saying we should have serious repercussions, if I hear correctly, on those that threaten nuclear war. Putin's not threatening it. That's their interpretation they're making because they're saying and creating it, saying, oh, he's pointing weapons at us. We're pointing weapons at them too. You know, it
Well,
should be
maybe
serious repercussions. You see?
maybe Ukraine is desperate. If you look at if you're a little empathic about this, and you're looking at Ukraine now, begging the world to help out. And if there is a nuclear weapon threat from Putin, then they want the world to put pressure on Putin not to do it.
This is a good point. Another good point, Dave. Who is the Ukraine? Now, the media will say the Ukraine is begging for help, really. Who's the Ukraine? The actor they have as a president? Who's begging? The people? I don't hear them. I'd like to hear them. I'd like to see them safe. No, the Ukraine is not begging. Ukraine has politicians that were helped put there by the U.S. Pentagon to make sure they'll do what we want and say what we want to destabilize the whole world. So what we need to do really is say, we need to have eyes on the ground and go in there. And I wish we had other parties in this country that are not Biden's group, FBI, Pentagon, CIA, media telling us what's going on. I'd like to have where there's unbiased people actually showing us. Because I'll tell you, Dave, we're not going to sing their song. We're not going to hum their tunes. We're not going to dance their dance. We're going to find out.
We got enough trouble and enough expenses in this country that we have to take care of. Number one. Yeah. Now she leaves with this. She says that we in Ukraine will resist and we will not give up regardless of what the Russian Federation is using against us. So they're trying to be brave, and that's fine. They're defending their country. But the problem with it is they're trying to draw this and always make this a bigger issue for Western Europe and also the U.S. to draw us into this.
That's
and
right. That's right. Wag the dog. Everyone go back and watch Wag the Dog. Pay attention. Watch how they do it. They're doing Wag the Dog to mock the public, to treat us like we're stupid. And in that, they create these stupid scenes. The one girl running with a puppy, running through blowing and showing how they Photoshop and everything. I wish I had that tank footage where they showed the tank with the dummies blowing up in the air. I worked in Hollywood. I know what it looks like. And the people running in front of the camera, one lady stops to grab up their little son. These perfectly clean, off the stock rack costumes where they're running in front of the camera perfectly, where you're
you're a screenplay writer and you wrote The Immortals and it went into the Matrix, and that's a long story. We're going to take a pause here for the radio station, WODY Radio, Eddie Carson's, and that is odysseyradio.live, and you can hear that on the audio version before long. And this is the Dave and Tom show. Dave Emmons and Tom Althouse. We'll be right back after this short pause. And for a lot of people, we won't be leaving the screen, but we're going to take a pause for the radio station. Be right back. Okay, we're back, and this is the Dave and Tom show, and we're with WODY Radio, and that's odysseyradio.live, and that's Eddie Carson's in Maryland, and it's Dave Emmons and Tom Althouse, current events, and also we put in our commentary and our opinion, so it is commentary and news at the same time. Okay, we moved on. Let's move on from Ukraine now. That's Dave, a touchy story.
I want to throw you something really quick, just for fun. Just for fun. You know how this war is going to end? The war's going to end in a good way. You're going to see certain execs from the film studios resign, just like the Warner Brothers lady, the Kajdushi or whatever her name was, resigned recently. You're going to see FBI certain members be under investigation. What you're going to see is like Wag the Dog, like I said. You're going to see certain people who failed to pull this over the public's eyes, and they'll lose their positions. That's how this war will end. It's a phony war when it comes down to it. And I think Putin would be ready to settle it. If U.S. is ready to settle it, we could settle this easily. And I think and what tells me the most, I want to just point this out, is the shots that I'm seeing in the media. You see a little bit, check it out, a little bit of smoke here, a little bit of smoke here. And I beg the question, I ask this, would not they be showing the most meaty scenes they could if it was 65,000? Would they not be showing bodies and everything? Yes, they would. Yes, they would. The media would. And not just little smoke trails with little captions saying, perhaps. It doesn't match up with what they're claiming. Their evidence doesn't match. But what we know rationally does match. But go ahead on. Thanks for letting me contribute that.
we're looking at the total world, and like you said, the U.S. has enough of our own problems of corruption.
Yeah.
We have political corruption, and we have killings on the street, massive. You know, we're afraid to go to the corner grocery store, and if we do, the inflation is 8.5, and it's going higher. Gasoline prices are going back up, and so I don't think this administration. Of course, they're playing politics. We were just talking about Washington D.C. being a big theater basically, and everybody puts on a show like they're there to fight for us, but
Mhm.
actually they're actually making money off of us and doing things like that. But here's more corruption, not just our country, the border, the crime and the political corruption and the food prices and the gasoline prices are, I've never seen it like this, and I'm pretty old, so I have never seen it this bad. But we also have it in England. Here's October 17th, an independent review of London's Metropolitan Police has found rampant allegations of racism, fraud, and sexual assaults among the ranks, adding that the departmental leadership continues to turn a blind eye to criminal conduct. This report was released Monday at the conclusion of the commission led by Louise Casey, a bureaucratic holdover from the administration of former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. She was appointed to look into the Met's internal protocols following the conviction of Officer Wayne Couzens in the brutal murder of Sarah Everard, who was kidnapped while walking home in South London early 2021. This is a UPI report, of course, World News. And we have corruption in the police force in London. We have possible corruption here at our higher levels. And I feel sorry for the police that are walking the beats. They're the ones who've been targeted and being shot. And just because the media makes the cops the enemies. We shouldn't do that, actually. I mean, I know there's probably bad police. Sure, there is.
Mhm.
We know that. They're bad everywhere. And so, but the thing of it is, London has their own problems here. And so the newly appointed police commissioner, Sir Mark Raleigh, responded to the report immediately, saying he was appalled at the findings and added that his department cannot continue to harbor bad people. So they're going to start doing things about it. Also, climate activists in London. If you saw this video over the weekend, they threw soup on a Van Gogh painting in the London Museum there,
Oh,
and
my.
then they super glued their hands to the wall. And this is all over the Green New Deal. And the Green New Deal has stirred up a lot of socialism and a lot of problems. I think that's what it's all about. What's your take on these people gluing their hands to the walls into paintings, Tom?
I'd say they want attention. They want attention, and we've reduced ourselves to kindergartens, not to insult kindergartners, but it's just like the
Yeah,
media is there to get it. A lot of times, these
yeah,
people will say, "We're going to be at a certain place at a certain time. You want to catch this, put it over, like, get your ratings up." They come and they do it, and they correlate and create nonsense together. The media works with them. A lot of times, the media, when they have something that's really serious and important, they'll ignore it if it doesn't fit their agenda. And you consider that,
right,
it's left us all the way. And you look at the stories; they'll create stories that they don't have stories, like this China Z or whatever XI likely to pack party leadership with allies is the headline. Well, that's what you do in this country. You put your top guys that support you in position. That's what you do. Big deal. Then you have this thing about the Vatican mishandling high profile abuse cases. That's what Pat Robertson does. His group, Jerry Falwell, the rest of them, all these different religious groups often mishandle high profile abuse cases, brush it on the rug, or put their own in charge of handling it. The news people are looking for news right now. They don't really have it. And I think they're
right.
starting to realize that the Ukraine thing is not really going to hold. But yeah, go ahead.
CNN is falling apart. A lot of people are being fired or replaced at CNN.
Good.
There's a lot of fake news. We don't need fake news with all this trouble. Just like you're saying, out of Russia, out of Ukraine, a lot of
Yeah.
fake news. Fake news here in this country, big time,
We don't need
big
it.
time. I mean, we're looking things dead in the face and they're lying to us straight to
Yeah,
our face, and us people have to take it.
that's
Okay,
right.
let's get to immigration here. That's another big problem. I think 5 or 6 of the top things that people are looking for in this election, of course, is crime. It's the inflation. It's gasoline prices. It's the border, and it's also voter integrity.
Yeah.
Abortion, I think, is number 6 or 7. But I can't imagine. I think I said this before, Tom, about abortion. I'm a moderate when it comes to that, just like Trump is.
Mhm.
I think if women need an abortion, I think they can get it in this country, and they're making a big to-do out of it. They're making it look bigger than what it is because that's the only thing the opposite party has to run on. Now, the Republicans are saying they have solutions to the inflation, to the gasoline prices, and also to the crime, and also to the border. They have solutions to that, and those are the top four. And people are scared to death, and they're actually going hungry. They're losing money. So this is a desperate situation. And is this all planned? I think it is.
Absolutely.
It's it is.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about another country now, Tom. This is not just us. October 17th, more than 90 naked migrants, mind you, were discovered over the weekend at a Greek-Turkish border, prompting the United Nations Refugee Office to call for an investigation while the neighboring nations traded blame for the humanitarian situation. The Greek National Police said Saturday that officers a morning prior had found 92 naked migrants,
Oh,
some suffering physical injuries, and on its side, the Greek-Turkish border. So that's, you know,
that's
that's
scary.
another thing. Yeah, and this is happening all over. Like you heard 2 years ago that the Northern Africa, the people there were going into Italy, and they tried to stop it, and a lot of people drowned and their boats sank. It's just like it's happening here in our Mexican. Authorities said the statement that investigations found that the migrants were pushed into Greece from Turkey. So Turkey's pushing them out. They don't want them, so they're pushing them into Greece, and the migrants were found to have crossed into Greece via the Evros River in plastic boats. The police said, adding that officers provided the migrants with first aid and food and clothing. Also, it says a related story, Pope Francis calls treatment of migrants criminal in unscribed or unscripted remarks. Not unscribed. I keep thinking scribes when it comes to the holy,
Yeah.
but it's unscripted remarks. But the Pope needs to look at the situation more in a more political and a controlled fashion instead of just mere words.
Oh, absolutely. It's really, the news is what it's become is a great way for them to get ratings up, for the cabal to make a lot of money, to have us look the other way from things that actually matter. There's so many stories that we're not going to see that could have a great impact for steering this country and the world in the right direction. But you're not going to see them because the agenda
And
is to stabilize and to have things shaken up and to turn us on each other, to get us into endless debates, to download too much information that actually overloads the brain. There's been studies done that show the mind can only take so much. And these days, our minds are flooded with information, tons of information, a lot of useless information. So the thing
and
is that
so
I think, yeah.
uh, here's something for you, Tom. You just said the fake news. This article ends up Ferretin Altan, the director of communications for Turkey, responded by calling the accusations fake news. So what are we to believe? And then it says more than 70 migrants killed as boat sinks off the coast of Lebanon. Just like I told you, Northern Africa people are trying to escape and going to other countries. Uh, why don't they stay in their own countries and try to improve them? That's my first thought. You see a lot of these young men, military age, even from Central America, South America, coming here. Why don't they stay in their own countries and try to do something better there?
A lot of them feel a lot, and from what I understand, from what I've heard, a lot of people feel they can make a better life once somebody from a family comes over and they realize they can make more money. Then they send to their other family and they send money back. Then they invite Uncle Bob and Jim to come over, and then pretty soon the whole family's parlaying to get over there. And yeah, that's what was going on basically with my honeypot wife in my situation, in this intellectual property situation, where they didn't have green cards, but she did what she wanted for the FBI, and suddenly they're being equipped. So it's this a deal where the FBI and others actually benefit from illegal immigrants because they can use them for tasking and things like this, and then give them little rewards, like my sister got. So it's like they get to actually get citizenship if they do some nefarious activities.
Right. And what comes with a lot of these migrants, I don't know the numbers. I'm not going to say because people got in trouble by saying how many numbers. And I know Trump is outspoken about this, but I'm not going to say the numbers. But across the border comes a lot of drugs, a lot of human trafficking, and that human trafficking turns up in the hands, just like you're saying, people make money off of this, either from labor or sex trade.
Mm-hmm.
And this is horrible.
It
And this is what we need to stop.
That's what I'd like to see, Dave, is the country's efforts, this country's efforts, first of all, to clean up its act and stop harming other countries and citizens, their own citizens, but to actually put into programs into place focusing on helping the people that are coming across, finding out, what's going on, what they need, let them go back, if so, but really taking care of people at the same time. It could be something where we actually create a goodwill situation where if you come here, we'll be a good ear, we'll be concerned, we'll hear your concerns, but we're going to stay to our line that we've established, that the people have established, their legislator bodies, and so we'll hold that line. But we won't be mean to you, we won't be cruel. We'll try to make sure we can help with some resources we have to get you reset and send you back peaceably, unharassed. I don't know. I really think the media has presented everything so askewed that
Right.
people don't really have the information to go on to make critical decisions and analytical, thinking. So really, we're just being presented what we're actually, the media works this way. They tell us what to think. They push it. Then they cut for a commercial. Then they push it again with pretty women speaking and things like this. It's, who have no idea what they're talking about. Some of these newscasters that are male and female don't know what they're actually covering. They're just reading the prompt. So it really is just, we've gone to such a low level of existence. It's time for people who actually are gifted to lead the way and come up with really new ways of approaching world problems. And I would like to see high school students actually investigate certain things that are interested in political science, things like that. Go over and be allowed to actually see some things, explore some things. Let's hear what they have to say. I bet it'll be very different than the media's approach.
Well, what the high school students and also the college students are being trained, they're being trained to be liberal. And it's all a liberal training, and that's true facts. That's not.
Well, I had some of that training myself, and I was told about how much money you could make and how you influence the world. They laugh in the classes about what you can do and what you can pull. So I know exactly how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and education is another thing. It's on the ballot too. The parents want more control of their kids, and I think that's good. I've never seen where a aldermanic board or a school board or a superintendent of schools can step in and tell the teachers, this is what you got to do with these students. This is how you got to train them, and then you don't allow the parents any control of the kid. That's wrong. That's bad. It's on the ballot, so voters have a chance to vote on all these issues coming up. Do you own a lot of old jeans? I'm going to break a little story here that'll give us a little breathing time.
A lot of my jeans I got rid of. I just have now left maybe 2 or 3 pair. I really did some house cleaning. So, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the funny news about this, odd news, jeans from 1880 it actually was auctioned off for $87,400 and was found in an abandoned mine in Aztec, New Mexico. The denim archaeologist Michael Harris, he said that he sold this at an auction for $87,000. I thought to myself, I got some old jeans. It's almost that old.
Absolutely. So, that's just insane.
Yes, I just thought that maybe I should look for my jeans. An Idaho man balances a guitar on his chin for 1 hour and 35 minutes, breaking the Guinness record. David Rush broke 250 Guinness records already doing other things to promote stem cell, I guess, education. But I've been a musician for a long time, and so have you. You've been in the music. And my bottom line to that is that it beats playing by ear.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I guess the chin is stronger than the ear, so it beats playing by ear. Yeah. Okay, let's go into, I guess, something that you and I need to talk about, and this could be a little bit about the ETs. Now, this comes from Hollywood Elite South Park Archives fandom. This is not coming from me or anything else. I talked to Tom about it earlier, and it's the Hollywood Elites, and they're alleged to be involved in a secret cabal, high-profile figures, celebrities who are secretly satanic worshipers, and they also kidnap young people and other people. So for other various things, that adrenochrome is what they're after, and they drink that. It makes them youthful, makes them strong. The alleged cult is comprised of Hollywood actors and directors, as they say, and this is what the fandom is saying. And it's not me saying this. And I know Tom knows a little bit about all this, and I'm going to turn him loose here pretty soon. According to the theory, these powerful elite individuals murder, molest people for the adrenochrome is just like I said. It's a euphoric and life-enhancing benefit. They depend on this chemical that comes from the body, and it was exposed by the billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. That's where they first started investigating a lot of this, and they knew about this before. Tom, they knew about all this before, but they never said anything about it. They let it go. Now Epstein just brought it public, and a lot of the public got a hold of it, so they had to do something about it. Should I list off? Here's their enemies. QAnon is the enemy of cabal, and they're trying to stop the cabal. If they're doing all these bad, illegal things and murderous things, then the cabal then the QAnon is doing the right thing. Is that what you think, Tom?
QAnon is split in half, basically right down the line. QAnon, yes, the good side of QAnon is doing a lot for good. The bad side of QAnon, and I've got the proof of it from texts and messages, their FBI infiltrated QAnon. So the FBI split QAnon, and the ones that disrupted my family and did all this harm to me are included QAnon that was FBI handled. And I've got tapes, audio tapes of phone calls. I've got text messages. I've got emails that are given to me from those approached by the FBI that were QAnon. It's incredible. And there's a whole body involved. So you've got, what they do is they try to make you think a group's bad by infiltrating certain members of it and gaining their support. And they wow and woo them. 2.5 hours on a Saturday, this one thing says. 2.5 hours the FBI were with them on a Saturday and got them, and they were part of the QAnon group that split. So the QAnon group it's like night and day now, where the good faction, the good group, is really working hard for the best interests of the public. I can attest to that.
Right. Now, they got about 9 people listed here, and it actually includes left-wing politicians and these top movie stars that everybody would know if I mention them. But I'm not sure I really want to mention them because this is not factual. I mean, it's factual from what they're reporting, and I've heard of it before, but I'm not going to mention who. I'm just going to mention the organization for now and not get into those details because I have to make sure that each one of those people are actually guilty of that. They said QAnon believes.
I want to add too, real quick, that the FBI's tactic is to infiltrate, divide, and that way they can say an organization is bad because they get certain people from their side to say these things, say they're bad. They did that with hosts I was working with. They did it with QAnon. So that's their tactic. Always watch for this. The FBI will infiltrate and try to divide families, divide organizations. So anything they consider a threat to them that would expose the dirty dealings the FBI, CIA did. So that's really what it comes down to. Just we need to look at the nuts and bolts of it to understand the agenda, the playbook, and how they operate, and then we can actually see clear through the woods of the circus media.
Right. They're talking about here, QAnon believes that they will continue to do so until common people stand up against them, just like, enlightening people. And that's what we're trying to do ourselves here. And they said they strongly support the past president. Don't mention any names, the United States. And then there's a Herbert Garrison, and believe he's part of this Great Awakening thing, that he will help them in the Great Awakening, which will involve a mass arrest of these elites and their ultimate defeat. And the theory goes on. There's other things in mind control chips. They're doing that. And when Herbert Garrison retires from politics and tries to get this old life as a teacher back, he is approached by Bob White, leader of the South Park branch of QAnon. Never heard of South Park branch of QAnon, so that's a little bit different. He reveals that he may have discovered where the Hollywood elites are, and that it comes down to only 2 people who feed on the torture, pain of people. To people, yes.
He said
I can't say that.
I'm not saying don't say. I'm saying I
Yeah,
doubt
he
it
said
comes down to two people.
no,
Yeah.
but maybe the leadership. Maybe that's what he's talking about. It doesn't really, confirm one way or the other. It comes down to only two people. I don't believe that. Just
I
like
would
you
beg to
said.
differ on that one. Just my opinion. I would beg to differ on that.
Right.
That it is factions and many heads in the cabal, and they work more like a conglomerate than two people leading. No, I wouldn't say two people. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's what Garrison is
Yeah, that's what I was
involved
gonna
in
say.
too.
Right.
So he's part of that. So I'm not going to read on anymore because it goes into details, and I'm not going to get into the names or anything like that. But
Yeah.
you and I were just talking, and I'm going to start off a strange story that happened. And I've always been interested in this story. Back in 1962, Democrat House Leader Hale Boggs, he's from Louisiana, and then Representative Nick Begich, Democrat of Alaska. On October 15, 1972, the two of them were with two other people, and they disappeared from Anchorage to Juneau flight in Alaska, and they were declared dead December 29th, 1972. So that was 2 months later, and it was the largest military search for days, and they couldn't find plane, bodies, or nothing. They still haven't. And then there was some talk that they were secretly, I guess, snuffed out, and everything was carried away because they knew a little bit about UFOs, and they were talking about disclosing UFOs back then. These two guys were, yeah. So they were apparently might have been snuffed out. Who knows?
It's a possibility. It's a very big possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that starts there, and I've had ET things, and I think you're talking about that you have an implant in your ear, and so do I in my left ear.
Mine's done by people like personnel that had me at a clinic, and so that implant was done. Clearly, I know the procedure. So, and it's supposed to disrupt your sleep. It makes all kinds of noises, and it's like nanotech, which they're bragging about. And so that they'll say, oh, you're seriously physically impaired. You can't sleep well. So then they haul you off for the criminally insane. It's an FBI tactic. Implant only one ear, disrupt your life, and then haul you off.
How do they get you in a position of that? I know the ETs dumb you down and they put you asleep, and then they abduct. But how do they do it on the other side?
I was called in. I was working for the Hilton family hotels out in Maui, and Grand Wailea, and there was shady things going on after our case was thrown. Some very shady things going on at the Hilton group, and so I was then told I had to go to a clinic when I was being basically railroaded out. And so I went to the clinic for a checkup, and the lady there, she wasn't even in a official garb or with a badge or anything like the others. She was in plain clothes, took me back to the cafeteria section of the Wailea clinic. So it was like, where am I doing here? Elite clinic. And it's like, she came in and she goes, let me look in your ear. She does a light in my ear and goes, oh, there's blood in your ear. I'm like, what? She only checked my right ear, not my left, which is unusual. And so she goes, here, let me show you. And she puts a metal instrument in my ear, and I feel a nick. Then she takes a dry Q-tip, pushes it where the spot just got nicked, and shows me a little fresh spot of blood. Well, it was just made. Then she takes a saturated Q, like it's dripping, saturated Q-tip. And I said, what is that? She says, a topical ointment for your, injury in your ear. So she tells me to hold it and press it against that first point, just forward. Just some people may understand what's going on. Press it real hard. They had me do it for 10 to 20 minutes. They said, press hard. Then came back and she tossed it and said, okay, we're going to have a MRI or a scan done on your, one of those scans, brain scans. And they did. And so what was going on was I was told that to press a saturated thing, it allows the transference of the membrane of nanotech. We have medical nanotech. And that allows transmission, almost like a radio broadcast. You can transmit into that ear. And it's a tactic used by the FBI where they'll have this transmission go like this. Like the Indian cricket. It sounds like high-pitched Indian cricket sound. It was done to the Cuban embassy where they're experimenting on Canadian and U.S. personnel. They all went to the hospitals, basically. And so you have the same situation where you feel like you're going to concussion, but you have this like, you can't ignore it. You can't sleep. It can drive you insane. And then they haul you off saying you're seriously sleep deprived. People need to realize this and talk about this Look up the U.S. Embassy in Cuba and see who covered it up. Who did the investigation? The FBI.
And
They're
they can
experimenting on
send
their
out
own.
they can send out a signal that'll reach your ears, just like me. I had a little thumping last night in my doctors can't figure out where I'm getting that sound when I touch my teeth. But I've had a book, it's called They What Do They Want? I've had a lot of experiences in that. And I think what you're talking about is they're back engineering
It's the tech.
this
Yeah.
this procedure from them. Yeah.
It's a precursor to Neuralink. What you're going to have then is they could do like it's almost like it sounds like a radio signal at one point. The static and distortion. It's man-made. I had my
Yeah.
ear doctor actually check it. He
Yeah.
checked it and did a graph on it. Him and his host, he actually brought his wife in to talk to me. He's like, "This is amazing. You know, you're going to put this in the documentary." And he said, according to the test, you shouldn't even be able to hear out of that ear. He said, "This is definitely man-made."
Right.
So
We're
we've
running out of
got them
time.
coming and going now. Yeah.
Next thing we'll talk more about our ET involvement and what happens to us. I just want to say this, UPI said 100-year-old Ohio man holds the Guinness Book of World Records for being the oldest practicing doctor, and he still plans on working. And I want to tell my 95-year-old mother about that. You've been listening to the Dave and Tom show, and the Dave Emmons, Tom Althouse, and current events, and also commentary. And we're also syndicated through WODY Radio, and that is Odyssey Radio.live. That's Eddie Carson's out of Maryland. So listen to that on the audio portion. And we want to thank you for listening. And we'll be back next week with more shows coming. Thank you and goodbye for now.